All right. No bits, no goofs, no gimmicks. Straight up, homegrown episode of Eating Soup Alone.
Except I have a bit.
Ah, okay.
All right. Nick,
Yes.
you need to give me Thanksgiving meal food item tier list. Go.
Food item tier list?
Yeah, I'm going to just name them off. Ready? Turkey.
S.
S tier? Really? You that big of a fan of the turkey?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Listen, but before we start this,
Yeah.
I'm a person who, much like an alien, disguised to be a human being, don't really care about food.
Okay.
Like,
Yeah.
if I could have all my meals in drink form, like a tasteless soylent kind of, that's what I would do.
Okay.
But I'll give this my best shot.
Yeah, all right. Up next, what goes in the turkey? Stuffing. Where's that go?
F.
Okay.
Can't stand stuffing.
Cranberry sauce.
F. Can't stand cranberry sauce.
Yams. Sweet yams.
F. Can't stand yams.
The mashed potatoes and gravy.
A.
A? Okay.
No. S. They're right up there with turkey for me.
Okay. Corn.
A.
A?
A.
Okay. Okay. All right. What else is there? What else is there? What else is normally in the...
I don't know. Those are the things I eat. I eat corn. I eat some salad too. I don't know if that really counts, but salad's just like an every meal kind of thing.
What else is in there? I guess we could throw the desserty items in there, like a classic, like a pumpkin pie.
D.
D.
Yeah.
Pecan pie?
D.
Apple pie?
D. I don't like pie, Chris.
Whoa,
No.
crazy. Okay. Oh, shit. What else? What else? What are the turkey? What do they do with the turkey? Like a crescent roll? Does that count like a crescent roll?
Sure, that's a B for me.
Okay. Okay. Well, there we go. Good bit.
What about you? Turkey.
The turkey's a solid B.
Crazy. Stuffing.
Stuffing is probably... this is insane. A.
Yeah, it tastes like the inside of a couch to me. Yams, is that what you said? Yams?
Oh, yams is S.
Ugh,
S
it's
tier
up
for
to
me.
you. The other ones. Cranberry.
Cranberry sauce, that's a F. Can't do it.
Yeah,
Couldn't be me. I think we missed corn.
Corn.
Can get a C for corn. That's
Potatoes.
good. Potatoes and gravy, that's another S tier for me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Pumpkin pie.
Pumpkin pie is probably like a C.
Pecan pie.
That's probably a good A.
Apple pie.
Probably B.
Crescent roll, you said?
I'm going to put it in the A.
All right. Now we're done with bits. No more bits, just straightforward episode.
Eating Soup Alone is a podcast hosted by me, Christopher Crumley, and co-hosted by Nicholas Johnson. We try our best to ramble incoherently about a handful of movies at least once a week.
This is our Thanksgiving episode. What, like 5 days after Thanksgiving?
Something like that.
But hey, fuck you. Don't worry about it. I know, really. Not you, whoever's listening. We watched Wizard of Oz, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
We did.
Because obviously, they're the most Thanksgiving Day movies that there are.
I don't know. I just feel like the reason I feel that way, I don't know if you're being sarcastic or not, I just feel that way because it feels like they're both like kind of fall but don't fit into Halloween. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I
Willy
get
Wonka. Willy Wonka takes place on October 1st, I think. That's
Okay.
the day that they get let in. And then Wizard of Oz just always gets played on like TCM and shit like that during autumn. You know,
Yeah,
there's nothing
anything-
really autumnal about it. But
That's a great point. Any
Yes.
movie that's not a Christmas movie that's on Turner Classic Movies feels like Thanksgiving time movie to watch. Yeah, absolutely. You know what it probably is?
Huh.
It's probably, as kids, we spent a lot of time at our grandparents' house
Around that time,
this
and
time
that's
of
when they
year, and
threw
they're
it on,
watching
yeah.
these movies.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, because both these movies remind me of my grandmother.
Yeah,
She
absolutely,
put these
yeah.
on all the time for me and my sister. Well, the first movie we watched was The Wizard of Oz, and it was really weird because like midway through the episode, I don't know how, as if divined through a crystal ball, a little blue-faced monkey in like a kind of a jacket and like a little fez with wings knocked on the window and gave me this little envelope
sick.
here. Yeah, it was kind of weird.
I was gonna say I usually bring you the mail, but you got
Yeah.
it all this week. So.
I did. Oh my god. All right.
Oh, it's huge. That monkey did a good joke on you.
It is. And you know what's funny is that I'm always joking about how like I'm like, oh, this one feels big. This one did not feel big. The Wizard of Oz, 1939. I'm not really a history person. It's just not my bag.
No, you're a monkey, so.
That's true, yeah. But from my limited memory of 10th grade U.S. history class, I think in the 1930s, it was like super depressing. But right at the end of this, great bummer, MGM released The Wizard of Oz, arguably the most recognizable and well-known film ever made, still remembered and revered almost 100 years later. The Wizard of Oz could use more Gene Wilder, if I'm honest. 8 out of 10 with a little heart. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, this is, you know, it's crazy. It's the story goes, at least. It's one of those movies that, you know, just didn't really do much in its initial run.
Oh, yeah? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it just kind of stuck around. Like, they kept putting it on. Like, just like, oh, go, you know. And then it somehow just became, like, the movie.
Yeah, yeah, it is the movie.
Yeah, it's never, like, you know, it's never in the conversation of, like, something like Citizen Kane. Mm-hmm. But, come on, this is the movie.
The movie, yeah.
This is the movie. It's so... like, I'm the president. It's like the Lord. It's everywhere.
Yeah, no,
you see it all the time.
It's
even
insane.
David Lynch is a fan of it.
Yeah, I think everybody is. I think everybody knows the Wizard of Oz.
It's like the Beatles. How could you not, like, you know, be like, okay, I like some of the songs, you know?
Yeah.
Only Ben Shapiro and people who are no fun think the Beatles are. Not to imply that Ben Shapiro is fun. I'm just saying. Never mind. You know what I'm saying.
You're saying Nazis don't like the Beatles or the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, and if you don't like the Beatles or the Oz, you might be a Nazi.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You have to go to the doctor, and they have to do like a 5-panel test on you to see if maybe you have Nazi.
Yeah. Chris, what's your history with Wizard of Oz?
I think we covered it. It's just, it was a movie I saw a billion times. My grandma always put it on. I can remember sitting in the little, you know, my grandparents had separate rooms.
Yeah, because they're old.
Living room and a family room.
Oh, I thought you meant bedrooms.
No. They shared a bedroom, but they spent the day apart. And yeah, my grandma's little room. I'd just sit in there and watch this thing, and I had nightmares about the Wicked Witch of the West.
It's understandable. Yeah, she's scary.
Scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
What about you?
I saw it as a baby child.
Yeah.
But I think that was the last time I saw it.
Yeah, let's pump the brakes for a second. These are both movies that, if I'm not mistaken, you hadn't seen since childhood. This is the first time revisiting.
Okay. Absolutely. Especially this one. This one I just have like vague flashes of earliest memories of seeing this movie, and then just through osmosis and pop culture and stuff like that, I know this movie.
It's really close to A New Hope, I feel like, almost.
Yeah, you and I say this all the time. Yeah, they're both equally as important, I'd say.
But just the little Luke Skywalker journey from like leaving the normal and going
absolutely.
to the weird, and then he picks up like a similar amount of friends.
Yeah,
he picks up a Wookiee, kind of like the lion. I mean,
no, you're right. These are the exact same movie.
Yeah,
we should have done.
And at the end, a wizard melts. It's a good wizard. It's
a
little bit of a twist,
we should have done that. Let's scrap it. Let's start this over. We'll do it tomorrow. Watch A New Hope with Wizard of Oz.
The last 2 times I've seen A New Hope, I've been on acid. Continue. That stopped you trying your tracks.
I know. I want to do that. I got no interest in doing acid ever in my life, but if I can watch Star Wars, I'd like to. Yeah, obviously. Yeah. But yeah, we watched this the other day, and I was a little trepidatious about it. This and Willy Wonka, but we'll get to Willy Wonka when we get to Willy Wonka. I thought it was going to be like a Goonies situation. Or it's an older movie that I don't have super fond memories of seeing growing up and stuff like that, so I was afraid it wouldn't really get me, and I would just kind of have to be sitting through The Wizard of Oz for 90 minutes. Of course, I loved this movie. I think this movie's so incredible.
Magical.
This movie's
so
magic.
Magical.
Yeah, it's I was a bit bored at the beginning, if I'm being honest. But as soon as they get to Oz, I'm like, oh, fuck, this is just full steam ahead. I will say, I did laugh pretty hard at Don't Destroy My Dog. It was very funny. And yeah, just everything about this movie. My biggest takeaway from this movie is I don't know. I didn't do the research. I don't know if like it's a chicken or egg kind of thing, or if it is a very clear distinction of what influenced what. This whole movie is a Looney Tunes cartoon.
Yeah,
like just situations, aesthetically, everything, the way people talk, everything about it. If this was animated, it is a Bugs Bunny cartoon.
I feel like the three farmhands.
Yeah.
Kind of give me Looney Tunes vibes.
Yeah.
In the beginning, they were goofy and kind of slapsticky. And
yeah, absolutely.
Get in there, I'll make a dime bank out of you.
Yeah. The most Looney Tunes example of this entire movie, I think, is like when the three of them, the lion, the man, middleman, and the straw man, are watching the guards, and then the guards come up behind them, and then they tussle, and a big dust cloud comes out, and like arms and legs are shooting out of it, and then they come up and they're wearing their clothes. Yeah. Like, that breaks my brain. Yeah. I don't know if the Looney Tunes had done that first, or the Looney Tunes are doing that. Yeah. Because so much of those
I'd be so interested in that tussle thing. Yeah, the smoky tussle with the arms coming out, because like that's something that like to see that not in cartoon form is very odd.
Yeah, and the biggest thing is those old Looney Tunes cartoons are most of the time making fun of something, especially as a child, I've never heard of before. Or like they're doing impressions of celebrities who have been dead for 60 years before I was born. Yeah. And I just think it's funny regardless, because I'm a kid. I'm like, oh, that's just a good joke, whether or not they're aping that joke from something else or not. Yeah, it's insane. I'm sure I could do 30 seconds of research and find it out, but I don't want to. I love living in this little fluid world of
which is the chicken, which is the egg. Things in the area where it's so easy
I love it. Yeah.
I don't mean in the sense of it's like, I'm just going to believe the earth is flat. I do not mean that. I just mean the little things like this. Like, what came first? I like living in this little in-between world.
Yeah. It's like, you ever been to Frankenmuth?
No.
Me neither. I don't know what it is.
And I feel like it's magical.
And I'm fine with that. Like,
I feel like it'd be shattered if I went there.
Yeah, exactly. Because I've like people say, we went to Frankenmuth, and I picture like 1,000 different things.
Yeah, I almost picture like the world that Tim Allen lives in Santa Claus.
Yeah. And I'm afraid I'm going to get there, or someone's going to tell me, and it's going to be a hotel with a water park inside of it.
With like one restaurant in the hotel,
Yeah. Anyway.
But so we meet Judy Garland. She sings a song. I've seen her sing Somewhere Over the Rainbow and cry very hard on stage. And it was very sad.
Yeah, you told me.
And it hurt me.
I knew nothing about Judy Garland before watching this.
Okay, so if you guys haven't seen it, definitely check it out. She just had a rough life. She had, what's that guy's name? I want to say it was the guy... I could be totally wrong. It's one of those guys like the guy who played the Asian landlord in Breakfast at Tiffany's. Like, what's his name? You know what I'm saying? Like, a real big...
Oh, Mickey Rooney?
I think it might have been Mickey Rooney. I think her and Mickey Rooney were, like, super close. They were, like, child actors. They were just like this from the jump, just, like, two fingers crossed over each other like you were hoping for something.
Didn't that come up in that episode of Heavyweight?
Yeah, because the granddaughter that they get a hold of or whatever is like, we always asked, how come you didn't end up with Judy? And he's like, because I loved her like a sister. I don't think about it that way. But so anyways, she lives in what I can only assume is the Dust Bowl, Kansas. She does say Kansas often, and I love that bit that every time she says Kansas, that people are always like, oh, I don't know Kansas. Where's Kansas?
Yeah.
Funny bit. She lives with her aunt and uncle and a couple of farm hands. They're very funny. We've already mentioned the dime bag thing. That was a hoot and a holler. She shows up distraught because we find out later that the witch, who's not the witch yet, wants to destroy her dog. Very funny way to phrase it.
Don't destroy my dog.
Apparently, she's already gotten the go-ahead from the sheriff to destroy this dog. Interesting. She claims the dog bit her. I do like that the aunt defends Judy and the dog by saying, well, she doesn't usually just bite people for no reason. She says something like that. And I'm like, get him, A&M. But anyways, there's a million chicks. They're trying to count them. Very funny. So
loud, too.
I don't know why.
Loud.
I don't know why that's funny to me, because you would have to count them, but it is just funny that they're like, keep quiet, we're counting. Just counting chicks. It's very funny to me. She goes off and sings that song that makes me cry, like I said. Then she runs away from home after the witch shows up. There's a little bit of, jokes here and there. Ha, ha, ha. Funny stuff. And she bumps into this marvelous medicine snake oil salesman man.
Yeah.
Crystal Ball traveled all of Europe. There's a nice gag where she says something like, oh, I wonder what Europe's like. He's like, why, have you been? He's like, yes, Europe is very nice, kind of a thing. See,
if I was alive in those times, I want that to be my job. I want to be the guy with the big horse cart that's got a bunch of magic inside of it.
Yes, absolutely. This is something I really like. I really like this bit. She's pretending to look through the crystal ball, but really he's just swiped a picture from her bag. Mm-hmm. And he's like, oh, I see a woman, and she looks old and sad. And she's sad, because when she first shows up, he's like, oh, don't tell me. You're looking for something. Oh, no, don't tell me. You've run away from home. That's what it is, that kind of a thing. Anyways, he says something to her that basically means like he's basically saying like, don't go back, you're making them sad. And she's like, you know what, you're right. But then a twister comes.
Ooh. Fun fact about the twister, it's one of the only things I knew about this movie. It's a practical effect, obviously. Just threw Judy Garland in front of an active tornado. No, it's like a big black cloth tube that's filled with an insane amount of dirt. And it's just far in the background, and they're just spinning it around. So it looks really, really good. It looks super convincing. I was very impressed by it.
Yeah, something I really like about this movie also is I love like the soundstage look of it. It's one of those things that, in my opinion, like almost like Tim Burton's Gotham City, or like I think they did the same thing a little bit with the most recent Batman. There's just something about it that gives it like an otherworldly, surreal, like uncanny, like it almost looks like a place that exists but doesn't, like dreamlike kind of a thing almost for me.
Yeah, I feel that way when I see that, like in all those examples you just gave me.
Yeah.
It's weird because when I see those, I don't think like, ooh, it's a little off and it's a little dreamy, but I've always thought this like as a kid. It's like just like a primal feeling that I get from those things is like, oh, parts of the world look like this. Parts of the world have this feel to it. Little hobunk me out in bumfuck nowhere just hasn't experienced it yet. But every time I see those, I'm like, one day I'm getting to the promised land of a soundstage city.
Yeah, it does have like something enchanting about it, and especially these ones I like that like they're so clearly hand painted and stuff.
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah, she goes home. The twisters happen. Everybody's in the cellar. She can't get in the cellar. She goes to lay down, bumps her head. Fucking window.
So funny, yeah.
Hits her in the head.
Just explodes on the back of her noggin.
And then I also want to pause to say, I know sepia tone's a thing. I've seen sepia tone around. I, in my lifetime, have never seen another movie that's sepia tone. I've seen plenty of black and white movies. I have not seen another sepia tone movie.
That's a good point. I don't think I have either.
Was that just to make it look dusty, I guess? Like,
it could be,
is that what they use it for? Is usually
could
like,
be, yeah.
Because just it screams Dust Bowl. And I've never seen another movie with sepia
like
tone.
I know sepia tone was just like that's how pictures came out of cameras. Like that's where it comes from. But no, I don't know what the decision to actively make your film.
Because have you seen another movie from the?
No, I don't think I have.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's weird.
Yeah.
So do you think like when it came out and it was sepia tone, they would just correct it to being like black and white for other things? Like if they were using cameras like that, or do you think it was like by the time movies had happened, they stopped using that kind of film to film movies, and they had like more of a black and white kind of a film?
No, I don't think. I think absolutely talking out of my butt here. I think like picture cameras, like super old ones, took sepia tone pictures, like just by the nature of how they worked, and then by the time we get to film cameras, they're black and white.
Okay.
And I'm gonna guess they took this black and white footage
and made it
sepia tone.
Yeah.
Also, I can't tell how the like the Oz stuff, how the color on that is that. Like, I don't know the timeline of the technology.
Yeah.
Was this filmed in color, or is
I believe,
one
yes.
of those things where they colored it afterwards?
No, I think this and Gone with the Wind are like the first couple movies that were shot in actual like Technicolor, like color. Before that, obviously, you did have painted color films, and I think I really genuinely think there's some super early examples from the early 30s of them using a technology like this, but it was just not like cost effective kind of thing. It was really expensive if you wanted to do that kind of a thing.
Sure, that's how they did all the special effects in Tron.
Really?
They just painted over every frame of that movie has something hand painted over it.
I've never seen Tron.
Neither have I. I hear it's not good. It doesn't hold up.
Interesting. And you know, when I was watching this, I was like, God damn! Like I couldn't imagine being 1939, seeing half of a movie in sepia tone, and then halfway through it's just like, oh yeah, full blown color. And also, not only is it full blown color, but it's the most colorful movie made to date. But
oh yeah, it's insane.
But also, apparently, like I said, the story goes nobody gave a shit the first couple times around. So I guess it must not have been that cool.
That's so funny.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, when she gets to Oz and you see that first little spot where all the munchkins come and greet her, I got the same vibes from the chocolate room in Willy Wonka later.
Yeah, that's one of the things that overlap for me.
Is like when they go in, you get that big shot of the room. I'm like, this doesn't age that well. Like,
no,
the spectacle of both of those rooms don't really hit me, because it might be because it has the soundstagey feel to it, but I'm like, this all feels very cramped, and it's not sparse, but it kind of feels that way. Like it feels like a daycare almost.
Yeah.
And then later in Wizard of Oz, I put it down in my notes. The Emerald City, fucking stunning.
Yeah.
Like when they first see the castle, I was like, oh my God. And then when they're in the Emerald City, everything about it, I'm like, oh my God, this is some of the best looking shit I've ever seen.
Yeah, there's that one character in David Lynch's Dune that reminds me of the Emerald City. He's the big fat one with the red hair.
I haven't seen
really?
David Lynch's Dune, no.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll get there one day. But yeah, so we'll talk about it more with the Willy Wonka thing. The thing I like about Wonka's being underwhelming is that it gives me the impression of, like, could still be real. This guy's just weird and a little bit out there.
Okay.
Like, one of the things I don't like about the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory one, it's just a little nitpicky thing. It's not a big deal. It doesn't, like, ruin the whole movie for me. But it's just so weird. It's outside of the realm of believability. You get what I mean? Like, there's something about the Willy Wonka one that's grounded. Like, it looks a little shitty, which makes it look like an actual crazy chocolate factory you could really go to. You know what I mean? Like, what do we have over here? We have that one chocolate place. You know what I'm talking about?
Morley's?
Yeah, Morley's. Yeah. Like, it seems like if I went to Morley's, it could potentially be this Willy Wonka adaptation. It could be like that inside. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I've been there, and it's not.
I know it's not. I know.
But you get what I mean? No, you're exactly right.
You're
pinning down exactly what I was trying to say, I think. It feels
like...
like...
Munchkinland, I do agree with you, though. It definitely looks like the little houses for the Munchkins. There's nothing inside. They don't live in there. Yeah, I know what you mean.
But yeah, the Willy Wonka's place more so feels like 2 days ago, someone came to that warehouse and was like, hey, you have to make this place look like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory.
Yeah.
And they did a great job. They filled it with a lot of stuff, but also at the same time, I can tell 2 days ago this was an empty warehouse.
But anyways, yeah, so she hallucinates. Just a little thing. I'm speaking specifically about the Nightmare on Elm Street parody. But it's interesting to me that the witch, when she shows up in the tornado outside of Dorothy's window, she's going like left to right.
Mm-hmm.
Most parodies I see, again, I'm primarily basing this on the Nightmare on Elm Street, when Freddy shows up as the Wicked Witch. He goes left or right to left. Small thing. I just noticed it. I was like, oh, that's odd. But I remember one time talking about it with you. I don't think I've heard it anywhere else, but about the language of cinema and how left to right is seen as like the journey that like a hero kind of takes, and anything heading the other way seems imposing. Like it's the thing that would be stopping the natural, just like baseline primal kind of a thing. So it's just interesting to me, like very small. This means literally nothing. But yeah, that they would have her going like left to right, because again, that's usually like the proper like movement across the camera.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like left to right seems like the journey to a destination, whereas right to left seems like the opposite. You know, like you're going back.
No, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah, just interesting.
You think it's like a primal thing, or just because it's how we read that we feel that way?
Could absolutely be. Could be either. I mean, why do we read left to right? Anyways, yes, Munchkinland, very beautiful. Her house fell on the Wicked Witch of the East.
She came down in a bubble, Don.
We we get one of the first kind of like really iconic lines, the Toto. I don't think we're in Kansas anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There are a lot of lines in this. I didn't write them all down, but like just even the way some people speak, where I'm like, oh, I've heard that. That's just common, like.
Yeah.
How we speak, but I feel like if you were to write it in a movie, it would feel cliche. Mm-hmm. But it's not, because this movie's almost 100 years old.
Yeah.
So it might have been this movie first. But I mean, not even things as clear as, I don't think we're in Kansas anymore, but like little like idioms and phrases and sayings and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
I should have done better. I wrote a lot of notes. Should have wrote some of those.
You did write a lot of notes. I'm impressed with the notes.
Forgot this was a musical, is where I'm at in my notes. Yeah. She sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow, and I was like, oh, that was beautiful. And it's when they start doing the song there, I'm like, oh, right. Yeah. Oh, right. There's going to be a lot of songs.
Some are good, some are not that great. But Glenda comes down. She says, oh, are you a good witch or a bad witch? She's like, I'm not a witch at all. And she has the little line about, like, witches are old and ugly, and all the munchkins, hee. She's like, what the hell is that? And she's like, those are the munchkins. You're in Munchkinland. And yes, she gets the ruby slippers. The Wicked Witch of the West shows up. From my understanding, this is like the first association with witches being green. Mm-hmm. Could be wrong. That's just something I heard one time. Sue me.
You know how they got that specific shade of green on her?
Probably they almost killed her doing it, but no, I don't.
Nuclear waste. She was one of those, what do they call them? Radium girls.
Yeah. The Munchkins sing a couple of songs.
Okay. quick pause about the Munchkins.
Yeah.
Specifically in this movie.
Yeah.
They freak my bean.
Yeah, because some are children, some are adults.
Some are children and some are adults.
Yeah.
Every shot where a couple of them came up in my head, I'd go, okay, man, kid, no? Kid, man, kid. Okay.
And then they pitch everybody's voice up. I do like the Ding Dong, the Witch is Dead song.
Yes, it's fun.
I do love that. And I love when the one guy shows up and he's like, "You killed her so completely." And we thank you very deeply. Great little bit. There's also, we represent the Lollipop League and the Lullaby League and the Lollipop Guild and all that kind of stuff. This rolls out for a long time. It's a big production. It really is. Really is grand. The next gag I really like is it's not that big of a deal. It's something very minimal, but she's just like, how do I get to the Emerald City? Because Glenda explains to her that there's a Wizard of Oz. He lives in the Emerald City, and he can help you get back to Kansas. He's the only one who probably would understand that. And she's like, well, how do I get there? And they're like, follow the yellow brick road. And she's like, where do I start? You start, and she literally starts in the center of that spiral.
Yeah, and like walks around in a circle. It's pretty good, yeah.
I think so. There's a couple of other. Well, I mean, there's probably countless, but there's a couple other big Wizard of Oz movies. There's The Wiz, which I believe I've seen, but I don't remember very well, starring Michael Jackson to some degree. I don't know if he's the main character. Anyway,
Toto.
He's for real.
Yeah. Have you not seen The Wiz?
I saw it when I was very young.
Yeah, Michael Jackson plays Toto.
Okay. And then there's also Return to Oz.
I made that up. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Return to Oz?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I remember that.
Yeah, I also saw it when I was very young, a little bit darker tone, and if I'm not mistaken, they spend time following the red brick road.
Okay.
That's one of the things I remember. Because that is a bit of a mystery. Where does the red brick road go? There's only 2 roads in this world.
I didn't notice there being a red brick road.
There's yellow and there's red. Yeah. The spiral is yellow and red, and then red goes the other direction, yellow goes the other direction. Where the hell does red go? I'm sure there's a bunch of, what's that guy's name? E. Balm or something like that, or Baum? The guy who wrote the original story.
I don't know.
Okay, well, anyways, I'm sure he wrote a book about it. I know he wrote, it's one of those things like, just like the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where there's like a dozen books that were also written. Initially, the book was about the fucking government switching over to the gold standard or away from the gold standard or something. Whatever. You remember that?
Whatever.
You remember?
I don't care, yeah.
Because that was the whole point of the Gold Road and like the Tin Man and all that kind of stuff. Whatever.
Okay.
Yeah. She starts traveling down the lonesome road. She makes a friend, a scarecrow.
My favorite part of this movie.
Oh, you love the scarecrow?
I love
you
the
take
scarecrow.
the reins.
I looked it up, couldn't find anything. I made sure to write it down in my notes to Google this actor to make sure he wasn't insanely problematic. I couldn't find anything. I'm sure he was. He was an actor in the 30s and the 40s. Oh my god, the Scarecrow's so good. I think he's so funny, physically and just the way he talks. I'm not afraid of anything except the lit match. So good. It's so funny.
Yeah.
When he's got a gun later, hilarious. Like, he's the only one who's like makeup I don't hate.
Yeah.
I think it's fine. Actually, he's the only one out of all 3 of them that I like. Someone's at her door. Oh, it's Elton.
All right, Bullet Brothers, are you ready to record my podcast? What's going on here?
This is great. Elton did watch The Wizard of Oz with us, so perfect timing, bud. Come sit down and talk about The Wizard of Oz with us.
For the listeners, he came with an open beer in hand and then pulled another one out of the pocket and opened that one.
Thank you. You're welcome. We'll pull the seat, bud.
Yeah.
We just got to the Scarecrow.
But if you'd like, we can take a really quick, I'm talking sub 1 minute, catch up to this point, history with Wizard of Oz, and up until meeting Scarecrow. Anything that caught your fancy? Anything you want to add?
I used to have the pop-up Wizard of Oz book as a kid, and it was one of the most fantastical items I've ever owned and held in my hands. And playing with the Emerald City is like the coolest thing. It's I don't know where you can find it. We'll put an affiliate link in. But that's pretty much all I had as a kid, aside from obviously all the quotes that everybody knows. And what else did you want to know?
I mean, that's great. You summed it up perfectly.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think the Scarecrow is perfect. I think he's hilarious. I have nothing more to say about him. Then we walk around with him for a bit and get to something much like this being a musical was news to me. The Talking Trees, hate them.
Oh, do you?
I hate them. I hate looking at them.
How would you like it if I came along and picked something off of you?
They're fun. I like them, but I hate them. Ugh.
Well, let's pause real quick. Something I forgot to mention about the beginning is that each of the farmhands make reference to like what their character in Oz is going to miss or doesn't have, that kind of a thing, right? And then also the Scarecrow. This is another story. It seems to be like kind of a classic storytelling trope. I don't know if I can think of any super modern examples, but I know like the Lord of the Rings, for example. Something I know about the deeper lore is that
talking trees.
No. I'm getting there. This is a long journey. But we'll get there. Tolkien, I believe, was a religious guy. He wrote the story with like angels in mind. Some characters are technically angels. Gandalf is an angel, and in like his intent was that like Gandalf was like an angel sent to Earth or whatever, and that like his whole thing was that he was like the hobbits had to take this journey. Like the journey is the important part, not the destination. If he wanted to, he could just drop them off at the fucking lava mountain and they could just throw the rings in, but that's not the point, right? But yeah, same thing with this. With like the wizard at the end, or not the wizard at the end. Same thing with this. Glenda, for example. The shoes the whole time could have just taken her home. She could have clicked the heels, but no, Glenda told her you have to take this journey because the whole point at the end is that the moral is that like I could have told. She literally says like I could have told you, but you wouldn't believe me until you'd done the journey yourself, whatever.
I thought she said that the shoes wouldn't work until she took the journey. Like a 500 miles kind of thing, got to put the work in, charge them up.
Yeah. And kind of similar, like, it's classic storytelling stuff that, like, these characters already have what they seek. They just didn't know it. It's like, it's a classic kind of like, it turns out you guys were the friends I needed all along. Like that kind of a thing, So the Scarecrow, like, it's funny, like, from the rip, he's like, I don't have a brain. And she's like, well, how can you talk? You don't have a brain. He's like, well, I don't know. But the next scene in the talking trees thing.
I was going to bring this up.
He's like, I can show you how we can get some apples. And he's like, your apples stink anyways. He starts talking shit. So they start throwing apples at him. They just got some apples. He had a brain the whole time.
Free sauce. Yeah, and I like how immediately they show their characteristics that they think they're missing. So it really is just more of a mental game,
He sings a little song, if I only had a brain, at the thoughts that I'd be thinking if I was thinking.
If I really just wasn't drinking.
But up next, we meet the Tin Man. I like this little bit. It's like a little bit like woodier and dark. He's oiled up. Oil can. They get him nice and lubed up.
I do like the Tin Man.
Yeah.
Again, his face is just the living end. Like I can't.
Yeah.
I don't know what they did to his face. I know you said it was like metal paint.
So I think he got sick. I think they had to go to the hospital for sure. Yeah.
And it was not worth it because he does not look good.
His suit looks great. Though.
His body looks great. Everything from the jaw strap down looks great.
Yeah.
Everything that isn't skin.
Yeah.
But something else I should pump the brakes to mention is I like that the witch is hiding behind a tree during the apple thing and she ducks away. Then during the Tin Man thing, she shows up and she's like, fireball. Very spooky. You can see why I had nightmares.
And a good effect, too.
Yeah, good effect. Genuinely. She throws a fireball. That's something else I'm going to put out. I'm going to put out a plea. I'm going to get down on my knees and beg that wizards and witches in movies start throwing fireballs more often. Why not?
Putting out a bounty. You'll pay to see your movie if you put a real fireball in it.
I'm not trying to talk shit, but it was something that was really confounding. I liked the Doctor Strange movie. I haven't seen the Maw of Madness or whatever the hell it is. But I saw the first one. And the whole time I was like, why is the magic like augmenting his ability to like punch and block? Why isn't it like him shooting blasts of magic at people? That's what wizards do.
That's my favorite part about the second one. Is it's directed by Sam Raimi, so he's doing a lot of wacky fireball-esque stuff.
Hell yeah.
It's fun, yeah.
Hell yeah.
I agree with you. There should be more fireballs and fire in movies.
Fire everywhere.
Especially if your movie is made before the 80s.
So that it has to be real fire.
So I can, and especially in this movie, there's a point where like all of them jump through some fire, and I'm like, that's a fire. Like that man whose shirt is stuffed with hay just ran through a fire.
Then we meet the Cowardly Lion.
Right before that. No, you're right. Go on. I just didn't write anything about meeting him down.
That's all right. Meet the Cowardly Lion. He bullies the shit out of him. He's like, put him up. Yeah,
he's more than anybody shows he has what he needs immediately. He comes in swinging.
But Dorothy gives him a nice little bonk on the nose, and he starts crying.
Oh, real smack.
Yeah.
Like the real fire.
That's something I kind of like about Dorothy's character. It's not necessarily like the best thing to blow your lid all the time, but I do like that like she's kind of cowers until someone's mean to her friends, and then she's like, hey, what the fuck? You can't just do that.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
she really wears the pants in this relationship.
Yeah, she even does it to the wizard. Like, once the wizard starts being a dick, she's like, you cannot talk to people like that. I don't care if you're a wizard.
Smacks him right in the face.
Yeah. But anyways, yeah, they bump into he sings a song. They all sing a song. They all sing "If I Only Had a Heart," "If I Only Had Some Courage," whatever.
Also, I love that the lion's tail is, you can very clearly see it. Sometimes this makes me love it a little bit more, but it's just a wire that someone in the ceiling is moving around. It's great. It's so good.
I believe at this point that's when they sing the lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. I think before we even hit Emerald City,
we cut to the witch.
The witch, and she banishes them to the poppy land or whatever, makes a bunch of poppies show up or whatever, and they get all
in the middle of the cement.
Yeah, they get all sleepy.
I wrote down a quote from Elton at this point. The flying monkeys suck to look at. And that's true. Their faces are kind of hard to look at.
I love them.
For all of the abuse monkeys went through in the film industry, we could have at least let them be in The Wizard of Oz. Instead, they're men in suits.
Well, is her right-hand monkey a real monkey? It looked like it was.
No, that's a man.
Running around like a monkey.
That's a man.
That's a guy. He's a
good. He's like
a good actor. Then,
he's the 1930s Andy Serkis. He's really good.
I was just gonna say, yeah.
Okay.
But Glenda makes it snow, kills all the poppies, and they barrel on. They show up to Emerald City.
Is that where Dorothy passes out?
Yeah.
And Glenda comes and saves her?
Yeah, by making it snow to kill all the poppies.
Okay, yeah. I said it earlier. Emerald City, stunning to look at.
Yeah, I do like the design, like at the backdrop, the big circular kind of like cylinder. Yeah, it looks great outside. What the Emerald City is supposed to look like outside, instead of having the skyscrapers, it's big crystal tubes.
I'll bring over this pop-up book. You guys need to see it.
Absolutely. That's great. Yeah, you should have brought it.
I should have. I was too busy working out a good bit.
Pocket beers.
Yeah. The poppy field scene. I think it's a great bit that the Tin Man cries oil. And this might be the hardest I've laughed while watching a movie in a very long time. She passes out and they don't know what to do. And Elton, what do?
Oh, what do they do?
They just go, help!
I forgot that they lost their cool in the field,
screaming
at the top of their lungs.
Yeah, I think it's the Tin Man who's specifically just like, help! Oh, help!
Breaking his voice to ask for help.
It's so unbelievably funny.
We'll touch on it again in a second, but I do want to mention I genuinely like, just me personally, I'm feeling the friendship vibes. They feel like they like each other. They're getting along real quick.
Yeah. From my understanding, or my headcanon, I think these are the three first people the Scarecrow has met. So.
Oh, I thought you meant the three first people from the beginning, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, just from the beginning, like when he's like, "Oh, I can't even scare a crow," and she's like, "Oh, well, if you were back in Kansas, you'd be scaring the shit out of some crows." He's like, "Really? You think I could do it in Kansas?" But when he sings his little song, they're the closest. There's a point where she's like, "With the thoughts that you were thinking, you could be another Lincoln," and that's cool. That even in the 1930s, they were like, "Yeah, he was a good one." So I'm just saying, the North will rise again one day. And now we're gonna get through this, everybody. I know it's
2022. We're like, yeah, Lincoln, he's whatever. Have you ever heard that quote?
Which would?
Where Abraham Lincoln was like, "Listen, if I had to choose, white man would be on top, but also, whatever, you gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. So let's free some black people." It was something along those lines. He wasn't super stoked about doing it. It wasn't like a passion project for him. It was more of like a political move.
Cowabunga.
Yeah.
Means to an end.
Means to an end.
Yeah.
I always wanted an Abraham Lincoln tattoo, like somewhere on my back. Not anymore.
Just get a really tall stovepipe hat. That could be fun.
It's actually a legitimate philosophical thought experiment. I mean, you can have your own opinion. There's no right answer. People always talk about let's say you have one person who does the right thing because they think it's the right thing, and then there's a person who does a right thing just because it benefits them in some way. It's easier to do, but they don't genuinely, in their heart of hearts, think it's the right thing to do. They're just doing it out of necessity, or they're going to get something out of it. At the end of the day, a good act was done. Is there anything wrong with B?
Short term, no. Long term, yes.
Interesting. But anyways, so they get to Emerald City, and another one of your favorite characters shows up.
Absolute favorite character is the doorman. Bust my buttons. He's so good.
So you want to see the wizard? Nobody sees the wizard. Nobody not know how.
I haven't even seen the wizard. Then how do you know he's there?
But anyways, they're just like, he's like, she was like, I was sent by Glinda, and he's like, how am I supposed to believe that? And he's like, I got these ruby slippers, and he's like, oh yeah, why didn't you say so? And they go inside, and that's a horse of a different color, he says, and then we see a horse of a different color.
I was thinking about it while watching it, and I wrote down that I have to look up how horribly did these horses die after they were covered in paint. It turns out there were animal rights activists back then who were like, you cannot cover these horses in paint.
Yeah.
Actually, if I had to guess, they probably weren't rights activists. There were people like, hey, this is a perfectly good horse. If you dye it a color, it's going to be ruined and we can't make any money with it anymore. So they are covered in like a flavored, colored, powdered gelatin.
That's
and
something
so they had to keep the horses from licking each other all the time to get lick all the jello off of each other.
Great fun fact. Here's something else to think about. I was just reading the other day about the sheer amount of alcohol that used to be consumed back in the day.
By a horse?
No, by people.
Oh.
Like liquor was cheaper than beer.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah, like we used to drink an absolutely astronomical amount more than we do now, kind of a thing. And it was just one of those things where, like, I was reading people talking about the kind of thing where it's like, yeah, not saying alcohol should be illegal, but that's something that I feel like gets like glossed over when people talk about like prohibition. It's always seen as this thing where it's like those ladies were crazy when they were saying we shouldn't drink anymore, but really it was one of those things where it was just like there were literally just any time of day just drunk people like rampaging.
Yeah.
And yeah, like it was one of those things where like you've got just I'm spitballing here, but 100% of men going out and getting hammered and then coming home and beating the shit out of the other half of the population every night. You know what I mean? You kind of.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah, it was just one of those things. Like like just for example, like there was one that was like breaking down like it was something like the bill for like the night that Lincoln won re-election for like a party of his closest friends, like that, and it was like. Everybody had on average, just in liquor, not the other drinks that were available, everybody on average had 17 shots.
Wow.
And stuff like that. Like, yeah, so it was just...
that shit had to be strong back then.
But I was
unregulated.
But I was only bringing it up because you mentioned that thing where it was like, you were talking about like, well, I don't know if there was animal rights activists back then, but so I was just thinking about like, again, like I just read that, fact about like how substantially more we had drank back in the day.
Yeah.
And you always hear those stories.
Depression spiking today. Comment on that, Chris.
But like it's one of those things where like like you always hear those stories about like how people drank beer because like it was like there was no clean water, like that's what you had to do if you wanted to like hydrate. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And then like I just remember someone talking about like that specifically and being like, yeah, people always talk about that, but like the other thing talk about is that liquor was even cheaper. So anyways, just crazy. We're in Emerald City. They get dialed up.
They do.
They all get dialed up. Yeah, they stuff up the scarecrow nice and good. They buff up the Tin Man nice and good. And a couple of tra-la-las.
They just had that big wheel spinning all the time. That's always been there. Do they have more Tin Men?
Tell you what I want.
Oh yeah, he can't be the only one.
Tell you what I want.
Okay.
I want one of the guys that are doing the buffing and stuff. They've got these green shirts on that just say Oz in big white letters and like kind of a slant. And I want that shirt.
Yeah, there's 3 of them. It could be our Halloween costume.
Yeah, it could be. It could be.
I know how to sew.
He does.
But
we're gonna make you a Tin Man costume.
That's true.
We can
got a lot of work to do.
We'll each work a big wheel and we'll just chase Chris around the neighborhood.
Yes, I was gonna say it could be me and Elton and we'll just be buffing you all night.
This is good. I like this.
It'd be so good. It'd be so good as a group costume because everyone would be like, "Why aren't you guys the lion and the scarecrow?"
It's one of the next scenes is one of my favorite in the whole movie. It's the one where again they're just hyping up their friends. They're being good friends. They the lion's talking about like, oh, there's no way he's gonna give me courage and stuff, and they like sing a whole song. They roll out a red carpet for him. They put a big old cape on his back, and Tin Man breaks a crown to put on his head. That's so cool to like build up your buddy like that. That's a really, really sweet scene. It's one of the sweetest scenes in any movie.
Yeah, well, at one point the lion rhymes elephant with cellophant. I don't remember the context, but I thought it was funny enough to write down.
Then Mustache Man shows up again. He's like, "You're not seeing the wizard. There's no way you're seeing the wizard." And then Dorothy starts her sob story, and he very comedically, it's a great comedic scene to simulate him crying at the story. They just pour water on his face. He's just crying. He's crying buckets. It's so funny.
Yeah, I think it might be a different doorman with his head just out a window.
Everybody in Oz is
exactly
played.
the same.
No, I swear it's the same actor playing everybody. It's gotta be. There's no way it's not.
Oh, I'd love it to be.
They're insane.
It's
Anyways,
like Tim Burton's Willy Wonka.
But they do see the wizard. Wizard is a big green head. I think it looks great. His throne looks great. The fireballs look great. Oz looks great.
The throne room looks great with all the fire. And they do a great job of accenting all the green in Emerald City.
And all that glowing glass looks like the scariest thing. Looking back, looks like the scariest objects.
Yeah,
I want it in my house.
In the past. Yeah. You won't live very long.
If I ever get There Will Be Blood Rich, I want a bowling alley in my basement that I can kill someone in, and I want every other square inch of my house to look like Emerald City.
And he basically goes, "You shall not pass." And then he's like, "Unless you bring me the broom from that witch."
It's a good callback, Chris.
Thank you. So they do.
Cuss.
They go out and they storm the gates. I think Dorothy gets kidnapped because they're like in the spooky forest.
Yeah.
They all have weapons, which is very funny to me because you mentioned Scarecrow. Very funny that he has a gun. But they all have two weapons. He has a gun, and in his other hand, he has a stick.
Yeah.
And then the lion, I know he has a big, like, toxic, like, pest control gun.
Yeah,
I don't know what else he has. But the Tin Man has both his axe, which he was already equipped with, and a giant wrench.
Yeah.
And they get swarmed by the monkeys. And I think the monkeys take Dorothy off. And now the boys are left to go save one of their crew members. And yes, we talked about it in the very beginning, but we get a classic scene. To this day, anytime this happens in a movie or a cartoon or anything like that, I'm always like, they're doing the Wizard of Oz. They're peeking over the thing, and the guards are behind them, and then they do the tussle cloud, and then they pop up dressed like, it's like Star Wars. They do in the Star Wars with the Stormtrooper outfits. Yeah.
I love that the lion's tail.
Yeah, you keep trying to hide it.
Can't keep it to calm down while they're walking through. It's fun. Fun.
They get inside. There's all kinds of shenanigans. Great castle. Love the castle. Also looks Looney Tunes.
This movie's got 2 of my top 10 castles in it.
Nice. Let's hear the other 8.
Hogwarts.
Okay.
Where does that place?
3. Okay. These are going in order. It's Emerald City, this one, Hogwarts, the one that Frankenstein lives in.
Okay.
The one that Frankenstein lives in Frankenstein 2.
Okay. Halfway there.
The Disney one from the beginning of every Disney movie.
Great.
Castle? Gray Skull. Sure.
Great.
Castle. What's Scooby-Doo?
From the intro.
That's got to be on the list, man.
Fine. For Elton, the Scooby-Doo castle.
Okay, good.
The little plastic Playmates one that everybody had as a kid.
Oh, okay. Sick, where you could launch the rocks?
Yes.
Oh, what a good one.
And final, last but not least, favorite castle. Castle number 10 is the one that Ariel lives in The Little Mermaid.
You did it. Just to clarify, don't think it's a castle in the Scooby-Doo. I think it's a house.
No, what about the... I thought there was one up on a hill. Am I just making shit up?
There might be an episode with that.
Oh, I should have said blood.
It's too late.
Don't plug our band.
No free promotion.
But anyways, they get up in there. They're running around. They're going this way. They're going that way. The guards are coming this way. Eventually, they end up cornered with the witch. The witch is trying to light the Scarecrow on fire. Someone grabs a bucket to put the fire out, and they accidentally splash the witch. And she's like, "Oh my God, you sons of bitches! Why would you do this to me? Now I'm melting.
Just like Signs.
Yes. And then all the guards are like, "My God, you killed her. The witch is dead." I love this, how often Dorothy just gets applauded for killing people.
Yeah, she commits 2 murders.
I don't even mean it in a way where I'm like, ha 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 ha, she committed suicide. It's just genuinely funny that like, and also kind of cool. I guess it just shows the tyranny and oppression, I guess, of the witches or everybody. It is just like, it's just funny that like you know, it's like very specific situation to be in, that like you murder somebody and then everybody who's there is like,
oh thank God, yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It's a good joke. I really like it.
Yeah, it happens twice.
And then they go back to the wizard?
They go back to the wizard, and he is a mega dick. And like I said, Dorothy is like, hey, put it back in your pants, buddy. And then he's like, silence! And she's like, oh, okay. But then Toto finds the man behind the curtain.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. That is the Scooby-Doo castle.
That's a Scoob castle.
That is a Scooby-Doo castle. And then, yes, so then we roll out another section I love quite a bit, because again, like, you know, pretty much everybody in this is a one-to-one with like somebody from the beginning of the movie, except I don't really know like Aunt Em and the uncle, if they get characters.
Aunt Em's just Aunt Em.
Yeah,
she gets found in the orb.
That's one of my favorites, when the Wicked Witch taunts her by being like, Annie Em in the orb. Yeah, good.
I do like this whole conversation with the wizard.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, he's a one-to-one with the Snake's Oilman from the beginning. So he's like, and you, my bovine benevolent friend, you know. And
yeah, I
you
don't.
Ting tang tiddle tang 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 tin man, you know.
I don't remember what the line is specifically.
Yeah.
But like, so they ask him to do something and he says no, and they're like, "You're a bad man." He goes, "Hey, I'm a good man. I'm just a bad wizard."
But yeah, like the Scarecrow's like, I need a brain. He's like, my friend, you've had a brain the whole time, but back where I'm from, we have these things called universities. That's where people go to think the best thoughts and all that kind of stuff. And you know what they have that you don't have? A diploma. So here you go, an honorary diploma.
Got 3.
Yeah. And he's like, you know, and you, Mr. Tin Man, you had a heart all along. You know, we have people who do good all day long back where I'm from. They're called they're called really good people, or whatever. And because he's trying to say philanthropist.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, and he gives them like he's like, this is you know, of my gratitude for the good deeds you've done. Here's a nice commemorative heart, or whatever, and courage, the cowardly lion. He goes, you have plenty of courage. You've always been brave. He's like, back home we give people purple hearts that are really brave. So here's a purple heart, or whatever.
I would like to note that he's like, hey, Scarecrow, you had a brain all along. It's great. Lion, you were courageous all the time. He gets the Tin Man's backwards. He goes, oh, Tin Man, it's not about how much you love yourself. It's about how much other people love you. It's like, oh, Wizard of Oz, that's, I get what you're trying to do here, but that's not right. You're incorrect. You gotta flip that around, bud. Tin Man, you better love yourself. You're a man made of tin.
And then for Dorothy, he goes, I'm from Kansas. One time I was at the state fair, and my shit just blew away. I ended up here. So I can't get you home. Yeah. So we're going to take that hot air balloon back home. Then they go to another room, and everybody's there to say goodbye. And they're in the hot balloon. But then Toto hops out, and Dorothy follows Toto. And the hot balloon takes off. And they're like, come down, come down. He's like, I don't know how to work this thing. Very funny.
How do you think he got there in the first place?
Yeah, and then that's when Glenda spills the beans. She's like, you could have got home this whole time. But you wouldn't have believed me if I told you, or whatever the fuck. And she clicks her heels, she goes back, she wakes up, everybody's there. For some reason, the fucking traveling salesman comes to the window and is like, I just had to check on that young woman. She seems so distraught. whatever. End picture, credits, great. S tier, A+.
I would also like to give flowers to the best actor in this movie,
Toto. Jinx.
So good.
Couldn't believe I guessed that.
Best dog I've ever seen in a movie. Real life name, also Toto.
Great.
It's great.
Yeah.
Good dog.
Why wouldn't it be?
Because he's an actor.
Right, but you have to get him to come to you.
Yeah, and?
Could have called him Bobo.
Could have called him Bobo.
Would have been funny.
Closing
Especially
thoughts?
with monkeys in the movie.
True. Closing thoughts, Elton?
Closing thoughts. I don't know. Just all around fun movie. Way more lighthearted than I think I ever, I don't want to say give it credit for, but my world feels so dark and bleak all the time, and so it's just nice to have this really just light beacon
It's magical.
to be able to call upon. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yep, that was pretty much a some of it for me. Didn't think I was going to love this watching it. Really, really surprised me. I loved almost every second of this movie. Thought it was a blast. Chris, closing thoughts?
I mean, yeah, he took the words right out of my mouth. This is movie magic.
What are you gonna rate it?
Oh, A+.
Elton?
Yeah, I'll give it an A+.
I'm gonna give it an A+.
Wow. Knocked it out of the park.
Triple A. Never happened before. And then Elton left. 24 hours passed.
And we watched another movie without him. You ever seen the Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory?
Oh, of course I have.
Okay.
But you did say you were more of a fan of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
No, I
Yes,
said it.
yeah, don't backpedal.
I said it, and then I thought about it for a moment, and I think that, I mean, they're two different stories, right? Because Johnny Depp, I mean, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, but Johnny Depp is the son of a dentist in the newer movie, and I like that aspect of it where you give Willy Wonka kind of a backstory and a reason to have this chocolate factory, and that's fun, and he's got these fucking perfect teeth the whole time, and it's fun to see him placed into a story. But then I love Gene Wilder as the original Willy Wonka and just being a crazy man the whole time, and so like I think I like them both in equal amounts, but for different reasons.
All right.
Different reasons. You know me, I just like to fly to conclusions for no good reason.
All right,
Way too
yeah.
fast.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've even famously done it on the podcast.
Yes. And I will continue.
I'd like to cite
Episode what? Episode what?
the one where we did Mulholland Drive.
I wasn't on that one.
No, I say I do it.
Oh,
I do it
okay.
too. Sometimes I just open my mouth. I got no idea where that sentence is going. Got no idea. It's called dead air, and it's worse than being wrong. The other day I got this candy bar. It was really weird. I'd never seen it before. And I thought, hey, I'm going to try that. And then inside of it, when I took a bite, there was like this huge fucking piece of paper.
Oh, that monkey got you twice.
Look how big this piece of paper is.
Whoa.
This was inside of a normal sized chocolate bar.
What flavor chocolate?
White.
You crazy person.
That's insane. That they didn't use even a third of the paper.
Yeah. Unnecessary.
Yeah, it's insane.
Great bit.
It's okay.
Okay. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, 1971. Based on a depressing how do you say his name? Roald
Dahl.
Roald Dahl. Okay. Based on a depressing Roald Dahl book, and made in a decade where all movies had to be depressing, mud-water-colored art pieces, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory rises above all that and makes itself a magic little 98 minutes that holds up against 51 years of cinema. Could use more Gene Wilder as well, though. 7.5 out of 10.
Christopher!
We pretty much touched on it. You don't even have to ask me. We touched on it in the first one, you know? Saw it a million times on the gram.
What's my history with this?
Yeah.
Well, I always liked Roald Dahl as a kid. Used to read all of his books as a young
Crazy.
man.
I was reading Goosebumps and a series of Unfortunate Events.
Yeah. Well, have you ever read any other Roald Dahl books?
Nothing.
He's got a fun one that I read recently that I've always wanted to read called Switch Bitch, where he talks about, I don't know if it's a true account of his uncle's life and autobiography, but it's fucking crazy. And I'll leave it at that. I don't need to talk about another book in this podcast. But yeah, I used to read his books. Big fan of Roald Dahl, big fan of how imaginative his writing is.
Yeah.
And this movie, I watched it a lot as a kid, and so I am drawing upon that to talk on this podcast today.
Sounds good to me, Nick.
Yeah, again, I have more recent memories of seeing this than Wizard of Oz, but again, a lot of this surprised me when we watched it. I just think it's great. Also, I read Charlie and the Glass Elevator as a kid, to not read The Chocolate Factory, and went straight to the sequel.
I already saw the movie. No need to read that book.
Yeah.
Fuck it.
And I remember it all taking place inside of the elevator, and then I did like a little Google search of it last night, and it said they land at Space Hotel USA, and I was like, maybe I don't remember this book.
Maybe I read half.
But, Chris, I gotta say, I had the same feeling going into this as I did Wizard of Oz. Got the same feeling coming out of it. I didn't expect to like this movie that much, and I fucking loved it. This movie's great.
Yeah, I think front to back it's great. I would say I almost like the bits where they're not at I almost said Oz at the Chocolate Factory more.
Oh yeah?
Personally, yeah.
I think they're 50-50.
Yeah. Just because like Gene Wilder is great and they get it together by the end, but it just becomes one of those things where it's just back-to-back spectacle gags for a second. It gets a little like a vignette show.
Okay.
For a second. And it just, I feel like for the first half, you're like, when are we getting to the chocolate factory? Sure, but like there's a lot of meat there. I feel like so they're great from the rip. The little boy who plays Charlie, great. There were multiple times where like he's talking and he's just so selfless, but also you can tell that like he has a pretty great understanding of like his situation, his lot in life for his age.
Why?
I was just tearing up.
Why isn't he English?
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Him and his whole family are American.
Well, they could be immigrants. Maybe they came over there like,
It just seems like a weird call for the movie.
Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and make up a backstory.
Will.
But...
Will isn't English either. I'm gonna call him Will from now on.
Yeah.
Chris, you're one of the characters. You're one of the children that got chosen to go into the factory. Which one are you?
Mr. Gloop.
You're Gloop? I figured you'd say that. What about you, Nick?
Oh, I'm Mike TV.
I fucking knew you'd say that. Okay. All right.
You're the bitch. I can't remember what her name is.
Violet Beauregard?
No, the other one.
Salt? Veruca Salt?
Veruca Salt? You
Yes.
think I'm Veruca Salt?
Right now, you're being a real Veruca Salt.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fair.
But anyways,
Me
yeah.
and my squirrels. That's from the new one. Anyways.
Credits roll. We get a bunch of just B-roll footage of just like chocolate being made in a factory. We meet Charlie Beckett. Or Bucket. Is it Bucket? Charlie Bucket?
Bucket.
Yeah.
Bartlett.
Yeah. All the kids roll into the
Too
little...
soon, man!
All the kids roll into the candy shop, and a gentleman sings a song about how the Candyman can.
Yeah, it's just a magical little pervert.
He is definitely. There's something about him. I mean, no disrespect to the actor, but yes, he definitely.
It's his hair.
It's the haircut,
It's the
something.
haircut.
Yeah, like a little pervy vibes.
Absolutely.
I think that was just.
Elton, did you know that they wrote all the music before the script? So the script had to be written around all the songs. That's why none of the songs make any sense.
Oh, that kicks ass. I love all the songs in this movie. I think
All right.
they're fun.
I think some are and some are not.
Okay, well.
And then we see Mr. Bucket, and he's in the window. And you're thinking, why isn't he in there with all his friends? Because he's working. He's got to go deliver paper because he's got to make money for his family.
Oh, I also forgot this movie was a musical as well.
Yeah. He rolls out. He tosses, he's being a little paper boy. He comes home. He's got his cash. He tells Grandpa Joe, hey, I'm going to pay for your tobacco from now on. Grandpa Joe, not the best person in this movie. Reminds me of my grandfather, though. It's kind of fun.
What a baller ass move.
He's fun, yeah.
He is fun.
It's fun. Old people just bedridden for 20 years.
Yeah.
Disgusting. I hate thinking about it.
I even as a child, I could never escape just where does pee and poop go?
Yeah.
I just constantly am thinking about that.
Well, did you like sleeping head to toe with your siblings and cousins as a kid? I'm sure you had to do it. I had to do it.
Yeah, there was
hated it.
There's always something about the movie that made it look like a good time.
Oh, no, I disagree completely.
I feel like the movie made it look like a good time. Real cozy.
You're downwind, though. I'd rather all be
Downwind,
lined up
all
shoulder
that cheese,
to shoulder.
yeah, all that toe cheese, it's all there.
Also,
You're telling me you don't want to climb up in that bed?
No. Every
Never.
time Charlie was near it, I was like, bro, get away. You're going to get
The
sick.
nuclear site.
Also, is one California king bed to put 4 old people in cheaper than 4 twin beds? Do that. That's more humane.
Yeah. A lot of things happen. Then we meet the teacher. I love the science teacher.
Teacher's great.
Yeah, he does this whole bit where he's like, all right, we're going to mix together this chloroform and the fucking sodium nitrate or whatever and my Professor X serum. Do you know how much of this stuff we got to put in here? And Charlie's like, no. And he's like, of course you don't, because if you knew that and I didn't, then you'd be the teacher and I'd be the student or whatever. And to teach your teacher is just not good or whatever. Anyways, let's go. Boom. But eventually it's announced. Well, before we get there, Charlie also at one night, I don't know if it's after his paper route or school or whatever, but he walks by the Wonka factory. He thinks about it. He goes home. He talks to Grandpa Joe. And
No, he's
Grandpa
at the
Joe,
factory and goes, huh? And then some weird old knife pervert comes up and goes,
I totally forgot
no
that.
one's ever come in. No one's ever gone out. And
Yeah,
then he
he's
rolls
got
his cart
blades.
full of knives away.
Butcher knives and,
Oh, really?
and machetes, yeah.
Just some
And when he
weird
goes home,
bald dude is
yeah.
just-
Was there not any smoke that came out of the factory while he's looking at it at that point?
What
Or
happens
was
is
that later?
like,
I think it's
smoke
later,
comes
'cause they
out,
start up production again.
Okay.
but the
Right.
the chimney says Wonka, and then one letter at a time it lights up. Anyways, he goes home. He talks to Joe about it, and Joe's like, "Yep, that's exactly what happened. Because Slugworth and he was sending the spies in there, and so Wonka decided to shut it all down, and nobody's been in there in forever, yada yada yada. And then boom, they were back in class or whatever, and the teacher says something to the effect of, "Class, the tests we take on Friday after we've learned everything for the week are now going to be had on Monday before we've had the time to learn anything or whatever. But since today's Tuesday, none of that matters." Anyways, And then there's a bunch of racket outside, and he's like, what the hell is going on outside? And some kid's like, Wonka hid 5 golden tickets in the candy bars. And he's like, that's crazy. You're pulling my leg. And he's like, no, it's true. It's on the news. There's 5 of them, and everybody who finds one, they get to go to the factory. Anyways, the whole world goes bananas. There's all kinds of little jokes. I love all of them. There's the grizzled detective who's like, the ransomers are on the line. And he's like, ma'am, it's your husband or case of your Wonka bars or whatever. And she's quiet. And he's like, ma'am, didn't you hear me? It's your husband's life, or it's the Wonka bars. She goes, give me some time to think. Why don't you? Yeah.
That's like an old, like, vaudeville joke. I can't remember who it is, but it's great. It's like,
yeah, you tell me all the time. I'm thinking.
Your money or your life.
Yeah.
I'm thinking. I wrote down, one of the news reporters at this point says it's one of the countless billions of Wonka bars. If you say it's billions, it's not countless. Go on.
Yeah, it is interesting that later on, Charlie's mom says there's 100 billion people in this world. Nope,
not close.
Just the other day, it hit 8 billion.
Yeah.
Anyways, Charlie immediately this is a movie kind of like A New Hope.
Just like The Wizard of Oz.
No, hang on. Not even that one. This is a movie like this is a movie like some of the Star Wars movies. Some of them literally just bring a tear to my eye just because of that it has the essence of, things are bad, but there's hope out there. You know what? Fuck it, I'm gonna go on a limb. It's very specifically The Last Jedi.
Preach, brother.
The Last Jedi brings tears to my eye just because everything is so glum and gloom or whatever. But you know what? There's always just hope.
Yeah. That's the point of the movie.
That's the thing with the Willy Wonka that gets me is like Charlie Bucket and his whole arc. Just that idea of like how bad he wants it, but not in like a delusional way. Totally. Like he has... Yeah. Seems like just a grounded thing where he's like, that would be amazing, and I would love to have that.
He's not like Grandpa Joe, who is like, oh, it's in this one. Oh, Charlie, for sure it's in this one.
Yeah. And there's just a bunch of, misadventures of him like buying one, and it's not in there. He finds a quarter in the sewer, he buys one, it's not in there.
No, it isn't that one.
Oh, is that the one? Yeah. But Grandpa Joe takes the tobacco money that he gave him, and late at night they open one to see if it's in there. It's not in there.
They get him one for his birthday.
Yeah, they get him one for his birthday, all that kind of stuff. And throughout that whole thing, there's also all these little vignettes of like the kids finding them. You get Veruca Salt, and she calls a room full of women working double time twats because they haven't found one yet.
She calls her dad a twat.
Yeah.
Tell them to work harder, you twat.
Yeah. And there's Mike TV, and there's the whole thing about how like they're trying to talk to him. He's like, can't you talk to me when there's a fucking commercial? And she's like, he's always like this. I serve all of his TV dinners here. He's not going to talk to you until the program goes off.
He's never been at the kitchen table.
Yeah. We meet Violet Beauregard or whatever, and her dad with the, hi, I'm Sam Autos. Remember, if you shop at Auto S, it's with their Mike E is a guarantee, and all of these fast talking. Great stuff.
Augustus Gloom is eating. They go to interview his dad, and he bites off the microphone.
Yeah.
I love.
Yeah.
This is probably what surprised me the most about this movie is how much I love each of their kids and their parents. Each of these kids and their parents. They're like, I assume they'd be like, whatever character. They're like characters in a slasher movie that just get killed or get taught the lesson at the Wonka factory. But no, I like every single one of these kids.
Yeah.
And their parents. Also, I love that every married couple's name is like
Henry and Henrietta.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so good.
I something that lives in my head rent free is definitely when they're like, Augustus, how does it feel to have won a golden ticket? And he's like, hungry. But
also, I had no recollection of Slugworth at all.
He shows up in for every kid, and he whispers something in their ear. One of my favorites is I can't remember which kid it is, but he has a microphone, and he keeps doing these like
it's Mike TV, yeah. His physical acting, just putting the microphone between person and person,
doing a bit.
Is so funny.
Yeah, like he's like comedically like giving the microphone to everybody as they talk in the background while all the other you know what I mean, like he's in a corner of the screen doing that while all the other media people are listening in on like like Augustus, whoever it is, or Mike TV, how do you feel? And the whole time he's just straight faced deadpan, just like
hilarious. Wish I would have seen it.
Yeah. Charlie's mom boils clothes overnight. That's what she does. And then Charlie sings a song that, in my opinion, is incoherent.
No, his mom sings
don't like
the song.
It. Yeah, that's what I said.
Oh, I thought you said Charlie sings
No, but his mom sings the song.
Yeah.
His
That's
mom
what I said.
sings the song.
Anyways.
No. You said that.
Charlie sings the song at this part.
So anyways, she says, no one can cheer you up besides me and Uncle Joe or something like that. And it's just like, what? What are you talking about? When? When did that happen?
Also, he's your grandfather.
Yeah. But anyways, whatever.
It's the biggest example of song was written before the movie.
Yeah.
Didn't need to be in the movie, guys.
Yeah.
You could have just let this one go. But he walks home all sad.
Yeah. But she talks about cheer up Charlie, yada, yada, yada. Here's something else I want to talk about. Up until this point, Willy Wonka ends in a slightly different place. But up until this point, Willy Wonka and Wizard of Oz have a very similar message, because the whole point of Wizard of Oz is grass is always greener on the other side. Don't even leave your house. Just stay with your family, because you're throwing away a great thing. Don't go anywhere. Stay where you are. I mean, I guess in a sense with Glenda being like, you had to go to learn, they're basically, the message is more so like, yeah, you can go and try to move to Seattle, but you're going to realize it's not great, and you're going to come home because you're going to miss home. But anyways.
That was pointed.
Similarly, the Wizard of Oz one, or the Willy Wonka one, is like the whole time they keep trying to tell Charlie, like, hey, we're losers, and you just kind of got to make peace with that and be happy with that kind of a thing, you know what I mean? But he finds a golden ticket.
He's like, I don't like my life. I got this candy pervert. I got this knife pervert following me around. And then he gets into the chocolate factory and goes, oh, no.
This biggest is the
pervert
mega.
Of all.
Yeah.
Foremost pervert identified.
But anyways, yeah, eventually we get to the point where Charlie finds the golden ticket. I think this is shot great.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it shows inserts of him like slowly opening it. And even when he peels it back the first time, all you see is the chocolate, and he has to pull it a little bit more, and then you see that little bit of gold, and you're like, oh my God, you know?
Yeah, and there's so much
like run, Charlie, run all the way home.
By this point in the movie,
yeah,
I want chocolate so bad. Like, that never happens to me. I'm never like, God, I want some candy right now. But watching so many people open so many bars of chocolate, I'm like, chocolate would be dope right now, if I'm being honest. And by this point in the movie, everyone's opening chocolate and like going, and just throwing it. I'm like, I want that chocolate, man.
Give me that chocolate.
But in the same way, you know Joe Pera, you've seen Joe Pera, right? Joe Pera Talks With You. They have that one episode where he hears Baba O'Reilly for the first time, and like just can so accurately relate to the first time I heard that song. I was like, oh, this is different. I'm different now. Like, seeing Charlie open up that chocolate and just like, you know, knowing that he's poor, you're just like, oh, I know how much this means to him. And like, even just this chocolate on its own is so good. And like, I am salivating, like you just said, Nick, over this chocolate for Charlie. Oh.
Yeah, he opens it and he goes, out here in the fields, I fought for my meals.
I put my back in.
That's
living.
That's something I forgot to mention about the boiling the water thing. Is the whole reason why he stops by is he's like, the third ticket got found today. I just thought you'd like to know that.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, I'm going or whatever, and she's like, what? That's how you came for? And she's like, yeah. He's like, yeah. It's just a lot of people are interested in that. I figured you'd be interested in it. I know I'm interested in it.
Sad.
It's very sad. I teared up.
Keep thinking about it about her boiling the clothes.
Yeah.
I just want to bring up. We will get to it later, but I just want to make sure we don't skip over it. Maybe my favorite joke in this movie, where they're in his secret lab, Willy Wonka's secret lab later, and he puts his finger in like one of the vats. He stirs it and he puts his finger in it. Goes, ooh, and they go, what, hot? He goes, no, too cold, and just starts shoving winter jackets into it.
It's good. It's good. But he goes home. He's got the golden ticket. At this point, there was a fifth found, but it turned out to be a fraud. So when he gets home, the whole family is like, you're pulling my leg, and he's like, no, I'm not. On the news today they talked about how the guy from Colombia, it was a fraud or whatever. This is the one. They read it, and it's like, you are cordially invited the 1st of October, and the mom goes, well, that's tomorrow.
When he finds it and gets swarmed, I get so nervous.
Yeah, I know, because it's like people, they would 100% grip it from him.
Savages.
They would grip
especially
it
when there's a knife man walking around
Yeah.
with knives for sale.
Come over here.
Any corner, knife
I'm
pervert
going to
could be
fucking
there.
stab you.
I told you no one goes in there.
And then Grandpa Joe gets out of bed.
Oh, he also gets stopped by Slugworth.
Oh, yeah, he does get stopped by Slugworth. Love that Slugworth is just somehow there every time. It gives another air of, like, the Gandalf thing. Like, it was almost orchestrated, because later on we find out that Slugworth is actually not a real person. That's someone hired by Wonka. He works for Wonka. So, yeah, just the fact that, like, I mean, like, even the Charlie one is a great example.
Mm-hmm.
How would he be right there on Charlie's way home? Already there. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think William
That's what I'm saying. I think that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I mean, how else do you explain Slugworth being right there every time someone finds it? You know what I'm saying?
Okay. So do you think that the moral of the story is never be too predictable or always be too predictable? Because then a chocolate man will give you all your wants and desires.
I would like that.
I have always said that I wanted to be someone's young ward, but at this point I'm 26, so it's kind of running out of time to be someone's young ward. I guess so.
Just need to find an older person.
Need to find someone with a chocolate factory, bro.
I can make chocolate. I can get into it. For you, Chris, I'd do that.
You need cash.
You need a good thermometer.
Okay, well.
But anyways, they show up, and the scene, one of the most famous scenes from the movie, apparently it was Gene Wilder's stipulation where he's like, I get to do this scene. And which is great because it just reeks of Gene Wilder. Like, he wrote Young Frankenstein, all the jokes in there. It's very tonally similar to the bit he does here. Everybody's gathered around the gates and all the media and all that kind of stuff, and there's a red carpet, and Gene Wilder just kind of stumbles out, and he's very limp.
It's very hard for him to walk down the stairs and shit.
Yeah, with his little cane, and then his cane gets stuck in a crack, and he does like a comedic thing where he's grabbing for the cane, but the cane's gone, and then does like a pratfall. And
I will reenact it now.
Hold on. Oh my God. Yeah, so he did that.
Yeah. And everybody claps and applauds. Gene Wilder's reasoning was, because from that moment on, no one will trust a single thing I say or do.
It's great. Yeah. I think you said it earlier, and it put it into perspective for me. Yeah, you're right. The second half of this movie, which also it's insane that you don't see Willy Wonka until
50 minutes
halfway through this movie. The rest of this is just kind of weird vignettes through the factory. But it doesn't matter because Gene Wilder is so good every single second he's on screen in this movie.
Yeah, he's definitely my Mount Rushmore of actors for me.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Worship the ground he walks on.
He's so good.
He's so good.
Need to see more movies. Can we do The Producers next?
Yes, I would love to watch The Producers. I really, really wanted to do Rudy. That's another Thanksgiving time movie for me that I totally forgot
Like the football
about.
movie?
Yeah.
Watched that in health class once.
Watched it a lot, yeah.
Do you want to do The Winter of Wilder? We just watch Gene Wilder movies for the next couple months.
We record the podcast outside only on windy days.
Just to give you a really quick a little sneak preview. I genuinely like Rudy. It's one of those things like the Charlie Bucket where he's like not good at football, but he just like works so hard he ends up as like a bench warmer, and he gets called into the big game kind of a thing, and he pulls it out of the last
I've
minute.
seen it.
You ever seen Radio?
Good. No.
Cuba Gooding Jr. plays Radio.
Yeah.
He's a mentally challenged man who wants to play football, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's a serious version of Waterboy, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
I don't remember a lot of it. I just remember at one point the bullies like tie him up and throw him in a shed, and then just start pelting the side of the shed with footballs. And like someone goes to get him out of there, and he's just sobbing, and it made me cry as a kid. That's all I remember about Radio.
Hey.
Any character on Radio, that's why they call him Radio.
Remember the Titans.
The Mighty Mighty Titans.
We get in there, and it's just bananas. From here on out, it's bananas. First thing is that Wonka's like, you guys have to sign this contract.
They're just on the wall.
On the wall. Huge contract.
It's crazy
small, yes.
And I love that from this point on, nobody wants to be here anymore. Yeah. Like, especially all the parents are like, I'd like to go home.
Yeah, they sign it. Parents are not with it, but the kids are like, we are not going to go into Wonka's factory. We are signing this. They go into the elevator, and he keeps feeling around, and he's like, there's a door somewhere, and then he's like, right here, and they're like, Wonka, you madman, that's the door we came in. There's no way. He's like, that's so strange because, and he opens it up, and there's what looks like a long hallway with a bunch of doors, and he walks over there, and they're like, the room's getting smaller, and he's like, no, he's getting bigger, or whatever, and he goes to like open the door, and he's like, what you are about to see is going to shock and whatever the fuck. He opens the door.
Shock and amaze you.
Whammo. It's the main room. It looks like a fucking brewery that they kind of turned into like a fantastical candy land. I liked it.
The lazy river.
Yes, we discussed it earlier, Nick and I. He was like, it looks a little shitty, and I was like, yeah, but that kind of adds to it, because to me it almost feels like plausible eccentric candy place. You know what I mean? Like it looks like it looks like
he's been doing this whole time while he's been gone, just to kind of have this thing happen.
Yeah,
like it never was like this before, and now he's just like, I really need to wow the kids.
Yeah, but another thing to like point out is like when you go to the one in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Tim Burton's one, it looks like another world or something. It doesn't look like something that could actually exist. But like Willy Wonka's does. You know what I mean? It looks believable. It does look like fucking like Duff Brewery or, you know, it looks.
This part where they're all like eating everything. Look, there's a part where Ms. Salt breaks something open and she's like shoveling fudge out of it. And
yeah.
There's that mushroom that has like whatever the white
cream
dots in the sheet. I cannot.
I want to eat it all.
Ever imagine, even if I'm in this magical gloop, even if I'm in this magical pervert's chocolate land, never would I be able to, in front of other people, shovel fudge into my mouth with my bare hands.
Yeah, I'd be like, Mr. Wonka, I need a spoon.
Every time someone does that in this movie, I'm like, that's disgusting. You're a bunch of candy animals. Cannibals.
Willy Wonka does a great bit in the stairs where he keeps taking one step back before taking three.
Yeah.
Anyways, and he's also very funny. Gloop starts drinking out of the candy river or whatever.
Yep.
Not too long after Wonka explains, he's like, this is the only factory in the world that mixes chocolate through a waterfall. It gets it just right. It's mixing my chocolate while it goes, that kind of a thing. He starts contaminating. He's like, no, you're going to ruin it. Throw this whole batch out. You can't contaminate this chocolate. It's never to be touched by human hands, kind of a thing. Then Gloop falls in. And I do love when she's like, you got to do something. He's like, help, police, fire. It's funny. He does that a lot.
I also love, I think it happens like a couple seconds before this, but he does it constantly. Every time someone asks him a question, he goes, oh, all questions must be submitted in writing. Or someone else asks him one later.
Hold it to the end, yeah.
He goes, I can't really hear out of this ear.
I'm anyway, deaf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do love he's eating something and Augustus gets stuck in the tube and he goes, the suspense is terrible. I hope it lasts.
Yeah. We also barreled past his song. Gene Wilder does an alright job. It's pretty good, you know.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Come with me and you'll be in a world of pure imagination. But yes, and then, you know, he's stuck in the tube and they're like, oh my God, you know, he's gonna whatever. And Uncle Joe says something pretty funny. He's like, Charlie, remember when you asked me how a gun works? Pay attention to this. he shoots out because the pressure gets too good or whatever, yada, yada, yada. And he's like, well, where is he going? And he goes just and calls over you know, an Oompa Loompa. And the Oompa Loompa.
Because right before this, someone went, what the fuck is that?
And he gives this elaborate story about this land and how they were getting killed by snozbringers and heretic vile leaders or whatever, and he's like, so I brought them all here to live and work for me or whatever. Slavery.
Oh, absolutely.
He says that the little boy got brought to somewhere and he has the Oompa Loompa take the mama to go to the baby. We never see the babies ever again.
Yeah.
Mr. Gloop is gone.
That's why the Tim Burton one's better. You see them all coming out at the end because you know they're alive.
But they carry on.
Is this where they get in the boat?
I believe they get in the boat. In the boat, the little girl says, what is this, some kind of freak out? And that's kind of exactly what it is. It's just and he's like, there's just no way to know where we are going, and the rowers won't stop rowing.
Great. I love this part because...
Something about going to hell, I think. But anyways.
Because why would... It's fun and eccentric. Like, why would Willy Wonka do that?
Yeah.
Why would the people who made this movie do this? Like, why is this in this movie? It's so good.
There's also, you get to see a projection of a chicken getting its head cut off.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
you see an actual chicken gets head cut off in this movie.
No fucking way.
Yeah.
Damn, repress that one. I'm a vegetarian now, of 7 years.
Thanks, Gene Wilder.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gene.
Then they go to the ideas room, I think the invention room.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And again, it's another thing where you can constantly just see like Gene nodding to the fact that he's put this all together. He's orchestrated this because he's testing them, right? Mm-hmm. He mentions, he's like, everything in here is secret. You must tell nobody, yada, yada, yada. They go inside. There's all kinds of wonderful contraptions, you know, Dr. Seuss-esque things that are going, bonking, bonking, bonking. Yeah. He's putting coats in cauldrons.
Yeah, aside from all the onomatopoeia, this does remind me of the last room, though, where this just looks like a factory with a bit of wacky stuff here and there.
Yeah, and, you know, there's like a cauldron, and he like puts a couple of sneakers in there, and they go, what the hell does that do? And he's like, it gives it a little kick. You know, stuff like that.
Hilarious.
Those are my two favorite jokes of the movie. They're so dumb.
They're both
they're so good. I love good clothes-based humor.
And we should mention that Slugworth is after the everlasting gobstopper.
Yes, the machine which has a bunch of
Ba-boom, pink, ba-boom, boom, pink.
Yes, but it's covered in a bunch of tarps, so you can't see what's under it. But you still see all the pistons and stuff moving.
That's a good one. That's really accurate, I feel like, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
And he's like, these are everlasting gobstoppers. You can suck, and nobody ever needs more than one because they last ever. And basically, this is the point where he's like, this is super secret, and if I give you one, you give it to nobody else. And like, you can see kids crossing their fingers behind their back and stuff. And you know, parents, anytime they get mad, they're like, come on, let's go get that Slugworth money and stuff. All kinds of stuff like that.
Why would you want to give it to anybody else? This is like the perfect candy.
Slugworth said, if you bring me one, I'll make your family rich.
Right, but like, as a kid, I'm stealing that candy for myself. If Ed and Nettie taught me anything, I'm sucking on that bad boy till I fucking die.
That's what I was saying before I knew Slugworth was a plant at the beginning. I was like, do you think Slugworth was pissed when he found out that all 5 people he has to blackmail are children?
What's the next room?
Is it the goose room? Golden eggs?
Well, because who do we have left?
In the invention room, they go floating, right?
Oh shit! No. I think, do we barrel past the bit, or maybe no. I think one of the next things that happen is the Thanksgiving dinner gum.
Right.
Yes. She becomes a blueberry.
Yes, is in that room.
Yeah. And he's
Violet,
the whole time.
you're turning violet.
Yeah, the whole time she's like, oh my god, cranberry sauce, and oh my god, roast beef, or whatever. And he's like, it always goes wrong with the desserts, or whatever. And she starts turning blue, or whatever. And he's like, I just don't know why. Every time we test it, it's always the dessert, or whatever.
And they do the bit again where someone's like, Wonka, help, and he goes, help anybody.
Yeah. And basically he's like, he does the and calls Oompa Loompa over, and he's like, take her over to the squishing room. And he's like, squishing room? And he's like, yeah, she's gonna explode if we don't dejuice her, or whatever. So we gotta get them juices out of her. Roll her into the dejuicing room.
Certified pervert.
And then the Oompa Loompas sing a song about how it's bad to chew gum.
Yeah,
it's
which
rude
is
to chew gum.
Interesting, because like at first I was like, wild. The first one was about don't be a glutton. This next one was about don't chew gum because it's rude. And I was like, oh yeah, I do remember being a kid and people like saying that chewing gum is being rude and don't chew gum when you're talking to people and stuff. Like,
it's like a hats inside kind of rule.
Yeah, weird rule.
But I kind of agree with it, to be honest with you. Yeah,
I've never been bothered by someone chewing gum.
It leads to a lot more like smacking when they're talking to me. And like,
well, yeah, if you're a dumb asshole, yeah, that's how you chew gum. But
right.
Okay, so what kids do we have left? We have Mike TV. That happens soon.
I think
we
next,
have the bad egg is next.
I think he's right. Yeah, we did fizzy lifting drink.
They get fizzy lifted in the inventions room, right?
Yeah. The guy that didn't see the movie with us is right. That's what happens next.
Yeah, Grandpa Joe and Charlie drink up the fizzy lifting drink. They float in the air and they almost get chopped up by the fan, but then they realize, oh god, all we gotta do is burp, and they burp and they come down.
Such a slow moving fan.
Yeah.
Worried over nothing.
Would not get a chop. Plus, there was a bit they could definitely hold on to. They do hold on to for a second.
Really do, yeah.
Yeah. This is another scene that reminds me of Wizard of Oz because they just start going, help! Help! Mr. Wonka!
Yeah. It's great.
Yeah.
Then they mouth fart their way out of there.
They do, and they join the rest of the group, and the group are looking at the golden eggs.
Yeah. Good egg, bad egg.
Good egg, bad egg. They're mega geese. They're huge. And he says, we're having them work double time for Easter. And he's like, hey, but it's not Easter. He's like, shh. The geese don't know that. We're trying to get it for next year.
So good.
Yeah. Veruca does. It's a good song. I like it, but it's also like a little issue. It's like, I want it now.
Yeah, the song is about how she wants a party. She wants to have a party. And again, it's like, this does not fit the scene.
Yeah.
She steps on the thing. She falls down because
she's a bad egg. Dad deems her a bad egg, and then the dad gets up there and is deemed a bad egg too, because he does that thing where he's like, he says like, oh, it's the garbage chute. She's getting shot into the garbage. He's like, oh, what's that garbage chute? And he's like, Veruca, please, and goes with her or whatever. And then Willy Wonka says, awful lot of garbage today.
And so it's just him and Mike TV left, correct?
Yeah, I believe so.
They go to...
But we also are blazing past Uncle Joe being a savage. He says something to the effect of, well, Mr. Beauregard finally got what he wanted, or Mr. Sull, or whatever. His daughter came first, or something like that, or you know what I'm talking about?
Oh, his daughter went first.
Yeah.
Also, something I think is very funny to point out. I've seen this point made elsewhere before. There are a lot of shots in this movie where you can very clearly see that Grandpa Joe has coke nails.
You know what?
Pinkies.
You brought it up earlier. You said this is a spry 85-year-old man.
Oh yeah, he dances a lot.
It's the cocaine.
It's you're right. It's a cocaine. Yeah.
That's connected.
Is this where they go to that Wonka car?
Yes.
It's not my favorite joke. It's maybe my favorite bit in this movie.
Yeah.
They get on his car. It moves the length of the room.
Yeah.
That's it. And he gets on. He's like, let's really push it into overdrive.
Yeah.
And he does it, and it's so loud, and it's shooting shit everywhere.
It's splashing. Yeah.
It's splashing.
This has got to be this is got to be the start of the splashing fetish.
It's the
'Cause
way.
she's
Listen to our tie-in podcast.
Well, she literally is saying, like, the mom of my TV is like, oh my God, it's in my hair. It's on my face. Oh my God, it's everywhere. And the whole time I'm like, this has got to be
Wham, yeah.
Yeah, this has got to be Wham. This has got to be Wham.
But I love that the machine's going. It's all so loud. And Gene Wilder starts a song that you cannot hear because the machine's so loud. And then, yeah, they get to the end of that and they get into the
Wonka Vision room.
Yeah,
Mike TV keeps going, oh, it's television. He's like, Wonka Vision. I like that he keeps doing that. Like, there are multiple bits throughout the thing where, like, he'll be like, oh, this is Wonka pie. Or whatever. He's like, oh my God, it tastes like apple pie. He's like, Wonka pie. Whatever it is. Like, I'm making that one up, but it happens multiple times.
I love
like, the elevator. He's like, oh my God, that's an elevator. He's like, Wonka Vader.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
I love that they put the white suits on. They like cover their heads and stuff, and Willy Wonka has his hat on over the suit.
Good,
great.
Yeah. So basically, he's invented his contraption. It teleports things through television, but they come out smaller. So he's got a giant candy bar so that it comes out normal size when it's on the other side. Charlie gets to taste it. He's like, "This tastes perfect," or whatever. Mike TV. Sucker for television. He's like, I want to do it. I want to be the first man who's ever been teleported by TV or whatever. He runs over there, hits the button, he gets transported on the TV. He's all tiny and stuff. And he's like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. Yeah. His mom picks him up, puts him in the purse. Wonka goes, no, I don't think he has to because the Oompa Loompas are there. And he's like, go take him to the stretching room. Kids are elastic. We'll just stretch him out. One of my favorite jokes in this is
taffy stretcher, right?
Yeah. When he's explaining this, what he wants what he wants done to the Oompa Loompa goes, and he does a little finger like come here thing with his hand, and Wonka puts his ear to the Oompa Loompa's mouth for a second, and then he turns to the Oompa Loompa and goes, oh no, you won't get blamed for this.
So good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. So now there's one kid left, Charlie Bucket.
Yeah, I do really like this next part.
And basically he's like, all right, show's over, go home. And they're like, what? And they go into his office. Love the gag that everything in his office is half. He's got half a desk, half a safe, half the wall is wallpapered, but not in the way you'd think. It's just one stripe, no stripe, one stripe, no stripe. Great. And Uncle Joe goes in. He's like, "What about the lifetime supply or whatever?" He's like, no, you don't get it. You good day, sir, or whatever. And he's like, "What? You're a dirty, stinking, rotten man. You're not gonna give your." He's like, "Didn't you hear me? You get nothing. You lose. I said good day, sir," or whatever.
You broke all the rules. You lose.
Yeah, and he's like, what are you talking about? He's like, no rules. We didn't break any rules. He's like, you took fizzy lifting drink. It was in the contract right here. E pluribus unum unum. I'm doing like all the Latin and stuff like that. He's like, you lose. You get nothing. Good day, sir. You know? And Joe goes, come on, Charlie. Let's go get some of Slugworth's money or whatever. But Charlie stays in the doorway. And he goes over to Wonka, and he's like, here you go, Mr. Wonka. And he puts the everlasting gobstopper on his table, brings a tear to my little eye, and he walks out. And he's like, Charlie, my dear boy, I knew it was you. I knew it was you the whole time. And they hug and stuff. And
that's why they call him Charlie Bucket.
Yeah.
Because he's always leaving shit behind.
Oh.
And he says something that he's said once or twice before in the movie. He's like, oh, my God, there's so little to do and so much time. Wait, strike that, reverse it, or whatever. And they're like, what are you talking about? He's like, come on, there's so much to do. And he's like, we gotta go in the Wonka Vader. They go into the Wonka Vader. And he's like, I've pressed every button in this thing. He's like, it's not like an elevator. Elevator only goes up and down. This one goes left, right, slant ways, all kinds of ways, whatever, long ways. He's like, there's one button I haven't pressed in here, right here. Go ahead, press it, Charlie. And they blow through the ceiling, but he's like, oh, I hope we get it on a speed to be able to get out of here. And Grandpa Joe's like, there's glass up there. We're going to get it ripped to shreds. And he's like, probably, or whatever. And then they break through, and then they're flying over. And then he's like, oh, my God, look, there's my house. And he's like, there's my school. And he's like, Charlie, I put this whole thing together. Oh, yeah, I forgot they showed Slugworth earlier. And he's like, nah, this is Alan. He works for me. That was a bit. I was doing a bit. And he's in the elevator, and he's like, Charlie, guess what? I can't be a candy maker forever. And I needed some kid that was pure of heart to take it over to the Charlie factory. The whole thing's yours. Grandpa Joe can move in. Your whole family can move in. It's your chocolate factory now.
Credits.
Overall, the town. I love that they show the credits while they're floating over town.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, fun.
Anything I blazed over that you want to touch back on, either of you? Double back?
Me? No. I was just looking up, though, while you were talking. Because I remember, they're not anymore. But you remember Nerds used to be Wonka candy? I looked it up. Nestle candy used to be Willy Wonka.
Yeah.
Like, that's the brand name. And they started naming it after the book. Mm-hmm. And then this movie was made and financed by the Quaker Oats company that owned Willy Wonka, because they were like, we got to promote our new Wonka bars. Let's make it a movie.
Yeah.
And they somehow got Gene Wilder and made one of the most...
Yeah, it's kind of like the Lego movie.
It outlasted... It's not called the Wonka Candy Factory or Wonka Candy Company anymore. It's called probably Nestle. But that's wild.
It's wild. It's even wilder than I could have imagined.
That's interesting.
Closing thoughts for me, and then you guys can go. I'm going to go first. I'm going to cut in line. Another magical movie. Makes me cry. Makes me feel like there's hope. And yeah, it holds up. I mean, these are two movies that hold up crazy well for how long ago they were made. Oh, yeah. These are timeless classics. Perfect.
I think that something that's fun, because when did this movie come out? In the 70s or the
71.
80s?
71.
So I think that when this movie and when The Wizard of Oz came out, I think it's really interesting that it was kind of culturally more well known how shitty life was for the people at the bottom.
Yeah.
You know, like cabbage water, that was kind of like looking back, I have no frame of reference for what eating cabbage water for weeks is, but like people used to have to do that. That's even not the same. Ramen noodles kicks ass compared to cabbage water. You know, people used to have to like boil their fucking leather shoes and make that last 2 months. You know, and like a lot of people had a touchstone for that, and like nowadays we don't.
Yeah, so I wonder if that's because like in the early days of Hollywood and stuff like that, that genuinely was the time where you could just pack up your suitcase and go to Hollywood and be like, I want a job. But nowadays, like those people had kids, and then those kids had kids, and so now it's like a family business thing where like you're just in it, so it's a little bit harder to break in. And since it's a little bit harder to break in, you don't have as many people who have like a touchstone with what that is like. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, I guess what I'm saying is just that it's interesting to look back and see that, you know, in the beginning of The Wizard of Oz, it's just kind of brushed over, you know, she's like, I have to do a million things. And like, you know, back in the day, if you were watching this movie, you're like, oh yeah, I can relate to that. My dad had to work a lot on the farm for us to eat one noodle a month, you know, and like in the same way, you know, my uncle had to work a lot so that way we could, you know, eat fucking cabbage water. And like nowadays, we're pampered. So fuck you guys, you liberals. These movies are great, and I haven't seen this one in a long time. I'd really like to rewatch it soon.
I was just saying it reminds me of like how like a lot of like movies these days that try to be like schlubby little relatable comedies or whatever, always like, I'm a tech developer, and it's like, I know 0 tech developers. We talk about that on the podcast from time to time, like how like people just used to be like, oh, I work at a gas station in a movie, you know, and nowadays it's like always something crazy like, oh, I designed an app. But anyways.
Yeah, because I feel like maybe the thinking was like, we've seen so many movies about people working in gas stations, and now it's like, well, now I think I've seen arguably more movies about tech developers. This is the first week since we've started doing this that I let Chris pick both movies. He just was like, maybe this or this, and I went, sure, let's just do both of them. I'm gonna start doing that more. I liked both of these movies way more than I thought I was going to.
Less work for Nick.
Less work for Nick. Yeah, Willy Wonka.
Wow. A+ for me. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm going to give it an A- because I was going to, but then Chris interrupted me, and I know he likes this movie. No, kidding. Yeah, this movie's great. Gene Wilder's great. He should be in every movie. Rest in peace. I'm going to give it an A+.
I'm not going to grade it quite yet because I haven't seen it in a while, and it's way funnier than I remember it being. So the last time I saw it, I was like 12.
So fair. And you know what? That was a test, and you passed. Elton, you get the podcast.
Yes, it was mine since last week already. Woo! That's that, Mattress Man!
If you need more soup, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, or go to our website, eatingsoupalone.com. And until next time,